Where my girls at? Where my girls at? Independent, free spirit. Ooh, it's so serious. Where my girls at? We ain't linked up in a cool minute. Where my girls at? It's going down, down. Where my girls at? It's going down, down. It's going down tonight. We going out tonight. Yeah, right. We going out tonight. It's going down tonight. Yeah, right. It's going down tonight. We going out tonight. Yeah, right. We going out tonight. It's going down tonight. Yeah, right.
So here's my thing. We're gonna do a little something about that intro, okay? Because this is not where your girl's at, all right? For just for today, okay? But it's okay. This is Elam B King, and you are tuned into the force of friendship. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, we got some issues, all right, and we got some things that we need to talk about. And I get a chance to be the guest host again, okay? And I don't know what's wrong with Lady Chrisette and Gloria and Sabrina and Miss Katarina. They call me back. They told me to be, so I'm gonna be on here today. So I hope I say something correctly. But this is the Force of Friendship on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation WFDF, and I am your host this evening with part 2. All right, of things you should know before you marry him or her. All right. So I want you guys to get all tuned in. We welcome all of your questions and comments. Of course, you can dial in at 313-778-7600 right here on the Force of Friendship. And we gotta have a little bit more of a conversation, y'all. Let me just say really quickly who I am, because some of y'all might, those that didn't see me before. I am your guest host. This is Mr. Elam B King, and I am currently located here in Atlanta, Georgia. I am a relationship coach. I am an author, and I'm super excited to just stand before you today and we got to talk about these marriages, y'all, just real quickly. All right, I want to welcome all the online guests, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you're at. Thank you so much for joining the Force of Friendship. So hey, how you doing, Miss Burnetta? How you doing, Miss Lisa? Come on in here. Now, what I want you to do, I want you to go and send this to the people who are about to get married. All right, because we're inside of marriage season. All right, from June to October is the biggest time of the year when people get married. Fall season is actually the biggest season when people get married. So I believe it is October is the number 1 month. June is number 2. All right, so we just got out of that, and I believe August is number 3. So we're in a space right now, this evening, where in a time frame that people are getting married. And so in our previous conversation, we had a little talk about a couple of things. All right, we talked about the importance of pre-marriage counseling, and how our marriages right now, they have a 70% fail rate. Okay, simply because people don't want to bring that coach into that space to make sure that they can get where they need to be. So we talked about purpose. We talked about what love languages. We talked about spirituality. Finished up a little bit talking about generational curses. If you don't know, you need to go back and listen to that show. I think it was last week. It was last Wednesday. So just go on to the Facebook and scroll back, and you'll see part 1. But there's a couple of things that we missed. All right. So I want to dive into just a couple of things. I need you to take out your pen and paper, y'all, because this right here is going to save some marriages here. Okay. So, all right. So the top 3 reasons for divorce. All right. Number 1 is infidelity. Number 2 is finances. All right. Number 2 is finances. All right. So people who say it's not about the money, that's a big old lie. All right. So, my question is, a lot of times we just might look to see whether that person is making enough money or whatever case to be. But do we really peel back the onion and kind of take a look at finances? People that are getting divorced because of finances. You didn't know what their credit was. You didn't know what their spending habits were. You didn't know whether they had an understanding of just finances as a whole. Do they know what a budget is? Do they have a budget, right? What's them NSF fees looking like? What them parentheses, with the red? Yeah, I mean, we've all experienced them before going to tell the truth. So how many parentheses you got in your bank account, right? And so I want to make sure that we understand that we have to make sure that we have the money talk with our significant other prior to walking into marriage. You should know what their credit score is. Okay, you should. All right. It shouldn't be no, this is mine and this is yours, and you don't need to know that. No. What's your credit score? What you been doing, right? And even if it is low, because sometimes we might hit certain spikes, whatever case it be, what is it? What does it look like? Where are we going? Now, I am not a financial advisor. Let me be very clear. I actually partner with Miss Shonda Davis, and so she is a financial advisor. So that's who I have as my financial advisor. Love her, right? And so she keep me in line, right? And so my question to you would be, who do you have a financial advisor? Because you don't a lot of times we don't have all the things that we need to make the right financial decisions. And so you and your person should either be doing one or two things, one and two things, but I say at least one or two things. Either you're sitting down and having the money conversation and understanding what your budget is and where are things going to go, or you get yourself a financial advisor. And the reason why, obviously, that's so important, we got people that are ending their marriages over money. So want to make sure that we bring that the money conversation into equation, because the bag, you can lose your marriage over the bag, y'all. All right. And so we know that different things happen, different spikes happen, maybe money goes here or there, but we want to make sure that we have the money conversation. All right. So people get mad at me about this next topic. All right. um we have to have the conversation about children. Okay. And it would seem as if this is something that, people have a conversation about, beyond the fact of, do you want kids? Yes, no. Beyond that, there are multiple conversations that need to be held. Um, and so I want to dive into that really quickly, because this is an area that I do have in my pre-marriage course. I actually do have a pre-marriage course, unshameless plug. You can go to arewereadyyetcourse.com and find portions of what we're talking about right now are going to be a part of a course to give you an opportunity of knowing which direction that you need to go in with your pre-marriage. But the conversation about children, all right. Now let me tell you something. Up to 70% of the arguments in a home can be because of children. Them cute little people, they bring arguments. Okay, they bring discord. All right, and so beyond, just the caring for them or whatever case it be, we have instances where we have challenges inside of marriages where, number one, we have to look at the fact that, do you know whether your spouse wants to, whether your significant other, whether they even want to have children? All right, so that's the first thing. Seems elementary, but sometimes I have had, of course, I said I am a relationship coach, so I've had situations where people are now married and one person didn't know that the other person didn't want to have children. Don't ask me how that is, but this is a real thing. All right, so we have people who don't even know. And so first, do you want to have children? So secondly, I think it's important to ask, how many children do you want to have? Right? Some people only want to have one little person, right? Somebody else might want to have three or four. And here's the thing. I don't think it's okay to sit there and try to push and change that person's answer. We can have some conversation and maybe some collaboration on it. You want one, I want two, well, I want three. Let's settle with two or whatever. But we need to have the conversation of exactly the amount. Let me share something with you. There are people who are resenting their spouse right now because maybe one person wants to have more kids and the other person's like, I'm done. Right. So we need to make sure that we have the conversation walking in, at least, of what that looks like. Now, when we say walking in, right, I think that it's very important that after that we have children, all right, after each one, sit down and have a conversation with that person about, let's just say y'all wanted to have three. Okay. Well, after the first one, because once that joker get here, the world changes, right? And all of a sudden, different things. Hey, it takes 20 minutes to even get ready to go to the grocery store, right? So, we want to make sure that we're having a conversation after each child, and be and be sympathetic and be supportive of what that person's thought processes are in that space, right? Because you might have wanted three, but after that first one kicked your tail, you like, yo, I'm good here, right? And so we have to be able to understand not only the original expectation, but then also come back and meet with your teammate, because you guys are teammates for life, right? You want to make sure that you are speaking with your teammate about the ongoing. Now, right, before we want to go ahead and procreate with somebody, do you understand the background of that person? Right? Because just because somebody's teeth are nice and that the sex is good, or that they're a nice person, or that they're very good at their job, right? It doesn't mean that they're a good parent. All right? Because there's no parent manual, and we all have come short, all right, in being a parent. But there's differences in coming short, and you just you just short, right? You are not parent material. Just like everybody can't be married, everybody can't be a parent either. All right. And everybody can't be a parent with you. Right. Maybe they can be a parent, but they can't be a parent with you. So you have to have an understanding of how that person was raised, because how they were raised can affect how that person raises the child with you. And so if you understand what your ideologies are, right? So you have to understand that about yourself. And then you have to also look at the other person's ideologies and see, are they congruent, right? When it comes to discipline, right? What is it going to look like in the home, right? Are we gonna be, are we gonna laying hands, right? Are we doing timeout, right? What is it looking like? I know one person might say one thing for one, and somebody else might say something else for the other. Why one is more important? Somebody might want to just let the children they can just choose what they want to do, and let them pick who they want to be and all that, before they're 18, right? Okay, so that might be your household, or it might be more of a conservative perspective. What are the disciplines from a spirituality perspective, right? And that's the reason why in our previous conversation, we talked about spirituality, and that's one of the reasons why that foundation of knowing, what deity are you going to follow, that can trickle into the home, right? um just looking at the con. That's what I'm talking about, Miss Bernadette. So Miss Bernita, I said Miss Bernadette. Okay. All right. So having an understanding of the ideologies and the spirituality allows you to walk forward with the child as well. Now, how about this? Are they going to go to daycare? Do you want them to, what's the schooling looking like? They're going to be homeschooled, and this is where, oh, please write this down, young people. Please, my people who are about to get married and have children, write this down right here. What is the role that you expect of the other person? Okay. Because we have some people that might have grown up in a more of a conservative background. We have some people that are growing up in a more liberal background. You're here, obviously, you made it, right? But how do you plan to lead your children? Right? What is the expectation of the role of the other person? I have had couples where, the man said, hey, listen, you can do what you want to do. She was an entrepreneur, and he was an entrepreneur as well, right? So, but he said, listen, I'm gonna be out here getting this, running, doing my thing. You can do whatever type of entrepreneurship you want to, but my children need to be with you. I don't want my children in daycare. And she said, and I said, how do you feel about that? She said, cool, cool. You know how much we just eliminated a problem right there? Because we have sometimes where somebody might have that expectation, and the other person's like, why are you trying to suppress me? Why do you want me to be? I can do this. I can put them in daycare, and we stand up, and women can just go out here, and yes, you can go out here, go be great, whatever case it be, and it could be, the roles could reverse there as well. But set the expectation. How does it look for little Johnny after he gets here? Right? Do you want him to be at home for a year or two? Do you want him to do the daycare after 3 months? My grandson is in daycare right now, and he's 8 months. There's some people out there that I also know that their child is, 2, 3 years old, and they're not. Any type of daycare, right? So I want you to understand it's very important that you sit down prior to, and I'm going to stay in this space right here, right away. We about to come up on break for a second, but I want to lay right here, right, of how important it is for you to make sure that you have an establishment of what the expectation of the role is for that other person. Very, very, very important, because if you don't do that, you can have an opportunity, and I've seen this too much, of people building up resentment and thinking that, how does this person just not know this? And that's the reason why, that you taking a look at that person's background and getting an understanding of how they were raised. That's one of the reasons why that is so important. All right. So we have to take a look at the disciplines. We have to take a look at the spirituality. We have to take a look at the number of children that we want. And I want to overemphasize this, and we have to make sure that we're checking in after each child. And I also tell you with this, even after that, them little jokers get here, because you know what, statistically, how about this? A lot of marriages end in divorce within the first 2 years of you having a child. You can Google that, right? So what does that tell you, right? That when that little joker get here, we have to make some adjustments. We have to make some arrangements. And then there's different phases, right? That the children are also going through, where, it's one type of parenting that has to happen when we have infants versus when you have toddlers versus when you have a teenager, right? Because when they hit teenager years, whoo, it can go in all types of ways once them hormones get here, right? And we got little Johnny trying to play one parent against the other. Come on, somebody. We love them, but they know it. They're savvy. We did it, right? We did it. So we're gonna go to commercial really quickly, and when we come back, we're gonna start talking about a little bit intimacy and some other little aspects or whatever. But yeah, this is Elam King standing in for the guest host. We got some issues in the pre-marriage area. We got to talk about it. Force of Friendship on 910 AM. We gonna be right back after these messages. All right. Um, I'm telling you, I'm gonna find me some music. I'm gonna find me some music. Okay. Next time, Lady Chrisette, Gloria, Sabrina, and Miss Katarina, I need to find some music. All right. But hey, everybody, hey, welcome back. I am your special guest host, Mr. Elam B. King. Hey, listen, we got some issues. We got to talk about it in regard to this pre-marriage area. And this is the Force of Friendship located on the 910 AM, the Superstation WFDF. And I am standing in. The ladies, they're just out, just sewing in the world and rocking and rolling. So I'm standing in for Miss Lady Chrisette, Miss Gloria, Miss Sabrina, and Miss Katarina. And we got, like I said, we got some issues, y'all. We're talking about pre-marriage and the lack thereof that some people are doing, but then we really have to kind of dive in into the importance of it. And so we were just talking about children. I want to kind of make a comment really quickly here for Miss Burnetta. She said, "Yes, talk about it all. How talk about it all. How." You were reared. Do you want kids? How many? Philosophies of child rearing. Do you have a clue about the cost of rearing a child from conception to graduating college and out the door into their own careers and lives? Yes. Do you have I like that. Do you have a clue about the cost of rearing a child? And with inflation right now, I'm telling you right now, ooh, I'm so glad I don't have an infant. Love my grandson, but I'd be looking at my son like, ooh, you raising a kid now. And and we have to have a conversation, and look beyond the fact that they're your child and you love them, so there's not gonna be any challenges gonna exist around that. No, no, little Johnny, little Sarah, they bring some challenges. They do. One parent wants them to do this, the other parent doesn't. One parent that feels like this one's loyal over here, other, and you have to stay on the same page, because there is a divide and conquer that a child can do inside of your marriage. And so y'all find yourself off in that bedroom arguing up to 70% of the time because of your children. All right. And I saw when you made the comment, Miss Dorothy Kerr, when you said, "Wow, my parents got divorced when I was 2 years old." Yes, statistically, people are getting divorced at a very high rate within the first 2 years of having a child. Right. So we have to kind of take a look at this. Yeah, and special needs. And I have a special needs daughter. She is on the autism spectrum. That's a whole nother dynamic, right? Blended families. Oh, that's a whole other dynamic with children, right? Because now you have the non-biological taking care of the biological. And one of the first thing, I think it was oh gosh, Michael Bazin said this a long time ago. He said, listen, inside of a blended family, the biological parent has to release the child to the non-biological parent. Now, it normally isn't a problem when it comes to the positive things. It's when it comes to some of the things where somebody might have to get tapped, somebody might have to get put on punishment to a certain degree. Oh no, now we have, and then all of a sudden the arguments start popping off that I hear, my clients talk about. Now all of a sudden it's my mom, this is my child, but when the other person's taking care of your child, then it's our children. So you know Dorothy, that is a great point. When whether you got, there's other dynamics, because if you are a parent with a special needs child, you have what goes on traditionally, and now you have to add on some more, right? And if you have a blended family, you have the traditional. Now you have to add on more for a blended family. So this is just something I just want to make sure that we're having a conversation about. Beforehand, and then having it ongoing as well. Now, I want to I need y'all to get out your pen and paper for this one, because I want to kind of move into a space that I started talking about in the first part, in part one, and I didn't get a chance to get deep enough into this. Okay. I'm gonna give you the roadmap of getting the best temperature check in your home. Okay. And that's when it comes to intimacy. Now, when I say intimacy, what's the first thing that you think about? Okay. Sex, physical. Yes, that's what probably 99% of you just said, right? However, intimacy goes far beyond just the physical aspect. All right. Physical intimacy is just one of the intimacies. There are four more. All right. And I want you to kind of tune in. I need you to call your spouse. I'm gonna give everybody 30 seconds. Call your spouse over to this computer. Call them over to your phone, because I need, if you want to listen for free, I'm going to give you the number one way to kind of pay attention to the gauge in your home. All right. And even if you can't get a hold of your significant other, I need you to send this to them afterwards so they can hear this. All right. Now, people pay for this, but I'm going to give it to you for free. Okay. Intimacy. Intimacy stands for into me you see. Okay. Into me you see is what I want you to start looking at the word intimacy, what it means. All right. What does that mean? That means I have to allow you to see into me, and then I have to do the due diligence to see into you. Okay. Now, when do we normally see this not happening? I'm gonna show you. COVID showed people that they didn't have intimacy in their homes because when COVID came down, people had to be together for like extended amounts of time, right? That's what into me you see. I like that. Into me you see. That's what it stands for. Into me you see. So during COVID, people had to be. I hope you called your spouse by now. People had to be friends. They had to be up under the same roof. They couldn't go to too many different places, right? And some people started figuring out that they didn't really know they were a spouse. They weren't a friend. They were a spouse. They weren't walking in their husbandry or their wifedom. They weren't doing that, right? They were just a fixture and they didn't really understand their person, right? And I'm telling you, one of these five is, or all of them, is one of the reasons why that there was a falter. Now, physical intimacy, right, is the first one that people normally know about, right? And obviously that deals with just the physical, you touching, you being sex, right? Whether it's oral sex, intercourse, or you just hugging, touching, rubbing, holding hands, whatever. Physical intimacy, that's what that is, right? And you have to understand the dynamic. Step one, right? And I'm going to say these in no particular order, right? But all of them are important, right? If you want to take a temperature in your home, ask yourself right now, what is the physical intimacy in your home, right? Not just based upon what you wanted to be, but based upon what that life partner that you signed up to be with, what do they say, right? You wanted 7 times, they wanted 1 time. We got a problem. Okay. As we're getting older, different body parts start to change, and I'm going to actually finish up talking about that or whatever. But it's still your responsibility to come back to the table and have that understanding of what is the physical intimacy. What if that, particularly if those for those who have a partner whose love language is physical touch, right? So I know we think about physical intimacy first and foremost when we hear the word intimacy, but we have to understand whether or not what's the temperature in your home right now, and if it's not where it needs to be, what are the steps that you are proactively taking to get it to where it needs to be. Not the what are you waiting for them to do? No, this is a partnership. This is a teamwork. Somebody might be weaker than you and how they want to express and walk in this space. What are you actively? I'm not seeing any comments right now. Okay, what are you actively doing? All right, to walk inside of that space of understanding what a physical intimacy is. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we got 4 more of them things, right? And let's go next to spiritual intimacy, right? Kind of speaks for itself, right? But I want to make sure that we highlight this. Number 2, if you want to take a look at what's the temperature in your home, what's the spirituality intimacy in your home? Are you praying together? Okay, are you worshiping together? Right? Are you having that time with yourself, and then in addition with your spouse, with the relationship between you and your significant other? That third chord is so important inside of your marriage. It is a daily. That's why we have to die daily, right? I'm not preaching today, right? Is it Wednesday? No, it's Thursday. Okay. So that's why we have to die daily, right? And there's an ongoing space. So sometimes you can't even fight some things in the in the natural. They have to be fought inside of the spiritual in your home. Sometimes there is a spirit that comes down within your home. It's not that this is that person, right? But there's a spirit that might have come over that person, and you have to fight that thing a lot more than this right here, right? To that person, right? Sometimes you have to be on your knees, and most of the time you guys need to be on your knees together, right? So what is the spiritual intimacy really looking like in your home right now? What is your role that you're playing inside of that proactively with your partner and by yourself, because both of those matter. And inside of these two right here, a lot of times I hear, especially from the physical, hey, well, if they did more of this, then it would be like that. And then spiritual, well, if they came with me to church, or if they, hey, listen, um, if you are able to do your part, is what we're really talking about here, right? And walking inside that space. Okay, so we almost about to go to commercial. Okay, we got three more intimacy. Okay, let me start this other one, right? So we got physical, we have spiritual. Let's talk about intellectual intimacy. Right now, you know what? Let me go to experiential. I'll come to intellectual afterwards. We're gonna. Oh, they don't want me to say none. They want me to. We gotta go. We gotta go to commercial. Okay. So we're gonna when we come back, we got three more intimacies that we need to talk about. All right, because this thing is serious. This is the temperature check in your home. This is a time for you to call your spouse, your significant other, because this is how you're gonna be able to get a gauge of what's going on in your home. Into me, you see, is that being executed in your house? We're gonna talk about it in just a moment. This is the force of friendship on 910 AM, the Superstation WFDF. We will be right back. Oh Lord. Uh all right. So we are back. All right. And we are in the second half. Thank you so much for joining. If you are joining online, thank you so much. I am Elam B. King. I am your guest host for We Got Issues. Listen, y'all. This is the force of friendship. All right. We have the ladies that are normally in the building: Miss Chrisette, Miss Gloria, Miss Sabrina, Miss Katarina. We are on 910 AM WFDF Superstation. All right. And they're off sowing seeds right now. So they was crazy again and they invited me on here. And so, because we got some issues inside of the pre-marriage area, they just want me to. I'm here to talk about it. So, we're in the intimacy area, right? And we just talked about what we talked about. So we talked about the physical intimacy, right? And we talked about the spiritual intimacy. And so, where we're going right now, I want to talk about experiential intimacy. I hope you went and got your spouse on here by now, all right? And if you and your significant other are tuned in right now, I just want y'all to just put a heart in the comments right now. I just want to see how many couples are listening right now. Yeah, I mean, if you by yourself, you can just put your hand up like that. All right. Now, if you with your couple, if you with your significant other, drop a heart. If you by yourself, just throw your hand up. Just want to see who we have in the room right now. How many couples we got in here listening to some of these intimacy, which stands for IntiMeUC, right? So let's talk about experiential intimacy, right? And it is exactly the way that it sounds. The experience that you have together, right? And that experience is not only between the two of you, but it's also between you and friends, right? Friends that you guys have, right? The experience between you and your family, whether it's you and your children, or you and in-laws, you and extended family, family reunions, whatever case it be. That's important, right? The experiences that you're having together, date night. Let's go back to the quality time, people, right? Date night is important, right? So I really want us to kind of pay attention to something that sometimes just kind of goes away. And sometimes you have people saying to themselves, we don't never do anything together, right? Or whatever, whatever. And the other person's thinking, well, I just want to sit here and chill on the couch, whatever case would be. And that could go for any way, whether it's the man for the woman, a woman for the man. But we have to understand that having experiences together is extremely important. So experiential intimacy, super, super, super important. All right. Ooh. We're gonna go on over to this one, right? Now, before I say this, let me share with you that these last two are some of the major reasons why that you have a lot of couples that break up after the child leaves the home. All right, because a lot of times when we have children, all right, the child becomes the focus, right, and we lose intimacy inside of certain areas. And then when little Johnny leaves, right, now you got two people looking at each other and they don't know each other. We say things like, we grew apart. No, I'm I'm calling everybody out right now that says that phrase, we grew apart. That's not what happened. You stopped paying attention to yourself and or your significant other and their evolution over the years. That's what really happened. All right. You're accountable for that, and so are they. Right. Because on average, what happens is that, you have children that when they're hitting their freshman and sophomore year in college, you'll see their parents getting divorced. Right. Why is that? Because you have the goal that left, and now you have two people who are looking at each other, just like in COVID, right? You had two people looking at each other, and now they're empty nesters, and they're like, I don't know you. And then you're mad. Watch this. This is what happens. We get mad because the other person doesn't know who we've become. But we've never told them. We just expected them to sit there every day and know who we have become. No. All right. Nobody just absorbs. You have to be able to talk. The communication. Communication is the number 3 reason for divorce. All right. And it flip-flops between the number 1 reason of divorce, which is infidelity, right? Everybody's grown when it's time to communicate. But when it's time to communicate, excuse me, let me say that again. Everybody's grown until it's time to communicate. When it's time to communicate, everybody takes their ball and they go home and they want the other person to figure out what their ball is and how to operate with it. And that is not communication, right? That is not the way that you operate in being a wife or a husband. You have to pay attention. All right. So these last two, I want to highlight this because this is one of the major reasons why that I'm finding that people are just saying, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. Right. Um, Emotional intimacy, right? Emotional intimacy. And that really comes down to you having an understanding of the way the other person actually feels, right? Whereas their emotion throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, you actually caring. How are you doing? How was your day? And really sitting there and listening, not just asking just to say that you asked, but really putting phone down, television off, or zone in, right? Or using your level 1 listening skills to actually hear and listen to what the person is saying. Right. And then, sometimes they just want you to hear. So it doesn't mean that you have to go and solve their problem. Maybe God's working with them through something and you really are just supposed to be a listening ear of support. Right. Maybe you have the tool in your tool belt to take out and help them put ABC 1 2 3 together, but you having a genuine concern for that person and how they feel, and then however that you can help them evolve through that, helpmate, however you can evolve them through that, teammate, however you can do that, right? You take an active role in caring about that point. Whew. I had to get that. That was hard. Ooh, had to get that out, right? Because a lot of times we get wrapped up inside of our own world, right? And we want somebody to pay attention to us, whatever case it be. And that's great. You do need to have somebody paying attention to you, but are you paying attention to them, right? Because if you don't, what has a high probability of happening is that later on in life, you're going to be two people that are going to be looking at each other, right? And you're going to say, I don't know this person. And they're going to say, I don't know you. And my question to you is that how much have you been an active participant in the demise of them not really understanding what the emotions are? And this doesn't mean that it was yelled. This doesn't mean that it was, aggressively shared. This means that you are actively taking a look at what the other person is kind of walking through. And I would venture to say that this is something, if you're good, okay, I'm gonna tell you what my honor students do. My honor students are able to do this on a daily basis, right? That they're able to tap into their significant other and understand where their emotions are. All right. My college prep people, they at least tap in weekly, right? And have an understanding of where their significant. Oh yes, you have people that don't even know for the whole week where was this from. Let me ask you, okay? If you're married right now, where is the emotions of your spouse right now? How they really feeling? Run your own test. And even those who are dating somebody, what's the emotion of your significant other right now? Do you really know, or do they just know how you feel? Right? Let's take a look at that. Right now, this last one, oh my goodness. All right, this is the other one that just it hurt people. Intellectual intimacy, right? You're seeing into the person intellectually. What are they doing? Right. And this kind of rides along the line of the reason why that having an understanding of that person's purpose is so important, and how you are a complement to that person's purpose. It doesn't mean that you have to, help them per se put it together. You have to understand what your role is inside of whatever that they're doing in life. And so intellectual intimacy, what are they doing, right? How are they feeling about things that are beyond their emotions, right? Whether it's stuff in society, whether it's stuff, dealing with, I mean, it's a myriad, their hobbies, the things that they really like to do. Intellectually, who is this person? What makes them tick, right? Do they like to just sit there and knit and crochet? Right? Do they want to get on some ATVs? Right? Do they want to, jump off of bridges? Who know what? Also, what are they doing inside of their business? Right? Or maybe corporate? Right? Their or even military, whatever it looks like. Having a general understanding of who this person is intellectually. All right, and this is where you have people say, "You don't even know me." The "you don't even know me" is normally emotional or intellectual. That's why I wanted to save them for the last one, right? People don't normally break up because they're not having experiences together, but it's very, very, very important, right? But I'm gonna tell you, these two right here, emotional and intellectual, right now, run a test on yourself. Emotionally, where is your significant other? Intellectually, where is your significant other, and what part and what role are you playing inside of that? Because you not having an understanding of that is very important. So I want to ask you, let's just run down all five of them. Right, here's the temperature check in your home right now. Where are you physically when it comes to intimacy? Okay, where are you spiritually in the intimacy in your home? All right, what type of experience, where's the experiential intimacy in your home, right? What is that looking like, right? And then, well, where are the emotions of your significant other? What does that look like, right? And then, last but not least, intellectual intimacy. What does it look like? And I want you guys to write this down. Come back, look at it. If your significant other is not on here right now, I'm going to ask you to just forward this over to them, right? Because this is an area to whereas intimacy, in to me you see. It is your responsibility, right, to allow somebody to see into you, and then you see into them. And here's the thing. we should be able to have intimacy check-ins, right? Weekly, monthly, what does it look like? Right. And here's the thing, a lot of times, sometimes people want to do things like, okay, can we talk and sit down and talk, whatever case it be. And there's nothing wrong with sitting down and having those conversations. But let's just look at it in a manner. I have a friend. They took the word plan and family together and they called it planly time. It's so hard to say that, planly time, right? So when they said planly time, that was them sitting down, running over the finances that we were just talking about earlier, right? Running over, how what's the temperature in their home, right? They're planning for their family, right? So if you have a business, you do it, right? When them expenses are high and revenues are low, you do it. Well, we need to do the same thing inside of our marriages. Into me, you say, take a look inside of yourself, inside of the other person, and make sure we're walking through this. Hey, listen, we got issues. All right. This is the Force of Friendship on 910 AM WFDF, the Superstation. We got to take a quick commercial. And this next, we about to talk about the transition afterwards. And this one, whew, I don't want nobody to beat me up on this one, but we got another topic to talk about here inside of pre-marriage. We'll be right back. Ooh, they might not like me on this one. Mm. Woo! All right. All right. We are back. I hope that I didn't say nothing yet that don't nobody like me. I hope y'all still like me. Um, this is Elam B. King. I am your guest host. Listen, I'm your guest host, and we got issues. All right. I am standing in today. This is the Force of Friendship. I am standing in for Miss Chrisette, Miss Sabrina, Miss Gloria, Miss Katarina. They all sowing seeds, doing some great big things. So I just they called me, and I hope I don't say nothing that just. I thought I'd lost some of the listeners last time, but they said that they wanted me to come back because we were talking about this pre-marriage thing because we got some issues inside of this space. All right. And again, I hope some of you had a chance to call your significant other. I know we have Miss Kiana Howell who's on here listening. And I really appreciate your comment. Right communication is crucial for a healthy relationship. I mean, we can say that all up and down, all around, everybody grown until it's time to communicate. right? And we just talked about intimacy and the important parts about that. I know we normally think about it as being physical, but it is something that moves beyond that. It is intellectual, it is emotional, it is spiritual, it is experiential, right? And I'm going to talk about one more piece, all right? Ooh, okay. So, if we look at certain spaces, right, that there's transitions that we go through in life, right, and there are some physical transitions that we go through in life, okay, and so sometimes I have clients that come to me, particularly men, and no, excuse me, I have women that come to me with this as well, and there is a challenge from from a physical intimacy perspective, right? And so we have, maybe in the beginning it was one type of way when y'all first got married, and now here we are down the road, and things are a little bit different. Now, there are different aspects that can play into that, but I want to bring to the table one of the ones that I've more recently read about, and this is from an amazing woman. She wrote some amazing books. Her name is Dr. Luann Brizendine. You can find her on audiobooks, whatever case may be. I stumbled onto her the first time when she had a book called The Female Brain, and so I want to recommend you to read that book. I think that every young man and woman needs to read The Female Brain, and then she also wrote one that's called The Male Brain, and she talks about the different hormones. She talks about the different things that you go through from the time of conception all the way to 80 years old. And I learned so much just about myself, and that's what it's just so important about, just learning about how your mind really works, why it works the way it works, and then also I got a chance to learn about the female gender and how their minds work and things of that nature, right? And so it allows a reduction of frustration when we at least know how God has just made us and how we have to find a way to communicate and navigate our ways through exactly who a person is and what they're walking in. So, she wrote a book more recently called The Upgrade. And I want to share with any woman that's between the age of 35 and 65. I definitely feel like that this is a book that you need to read, because what it begins to talk about are some of the things that your body begins to transition through between the age of 35 and 65. The reduction of your estrogen, what hormones are kind of shaking and moving in your body, what your sleep patterns begin to look like, what, you know, or maybe what the consistency of maybe things that might be a little bit differently when it comes to you actually having intercourse, what that looks like. And it gave me an opportunity. And gentlemen, I definitely want to encourage you, if you are a married man with a woman between the age of 35 and 65, you need to read this, because here's one of the things that I identified. As I'm reading through this, I got an understanding that a lot of times there are things that are going on with a woman's body. See, ladies, this is the reason why I told you that you need to bring your significant other in, because I'm going to tell him right now that this is something that's beyond you, because biologically there are some things that your body is going through and you don't even know what's going on. Right? You were used to operating a certain type of way. Now all of a sudden, you standing still and it's 200 degrees in the room, right? You got a hot flash, right? You don't even understand it, right? I don't know what they feel like. I do not. But after having some reading and hearing about your night sweats and hearing about the reduction of the way that you sleep, which turns around and affects the way that you operate during the day, which turns around and affects the way that you operate from a physical intimacy perspective, that is huge, right? And there is a level of understanding and walking that you have to do that by yourself. And because you, excuse me, that you do have to walk to by yourself, because we as the husband, we're not in that with you, right? But we are in it with you because there's an understanding that we need to have. But which how she goes on to talk is that you're not really sharing the way that you really feel, because we don't have your body part. And a lot of times you feel like, and this is, she's a neuropsychiatrist, right? Neuropsychologist, psychiatrist. I hope I said that correct. Okay. And so she's been doing this for 30 plus years, right? So she's breaking it down biologically. And what she's experienced with a lot of her clients, what she was sharing is that because you feel like that we as a man don't understand, you don't really talk about it, right? Or it comes out in a manner that's more aggressive or hostile, or that you get fed up, because we might be sitting there like, hey, come on, can we do it? Can we do it? Can we do it? And you're over here like, yo, I had like 3 hot flashes in the past like couple of minutes. Like I'm not, and we don't understand. We're like, okay, you was hot, you cold now, right? Like you ready to go, right? And we don't understand that, right? And so that's, think about that. From 35 to 65, your body is going through all types of motions. This is in addition to little Johnny gotta eat. This is in addition to what you're doing from a 9 to 5. This is in addition to whatever the weight of friends or family or caretaker caregiver that you're doing. What, in addition to all that, your body's flipping out too. Oh, ladies. Oh, and there's nothing we can do about it. Um, but there is something that we can do about it. There's a level of understanding that we can have more in it, because we have to know that this is what you're walking into. And that's something I share with my clients in the pre-marriage space more recently. I wasn't going into this too much, but now I more am, because on the back end, I'm seeing so many people having problems down the road, and they don't understand, because they're like, well, this should be the same type of person like they were before. And I'm talking to the men. Men, we're thinking that, that woman that's in front of you that you love, that biologically that she's the same person, and she's not. And the challenge that we run into is that we're not having conversation about it. So what we do as men is that we take it personal, right? And so all of a sudden we're taking the long way home, or we're taking more trips, or we're doing things, right? Because we're resenting that person, and we're feeling like that it's just something that they can just control off the rip. Now, are there hormones and things of that nature and other spaces that you can walk in? Yes. And I do want to encourage you, ladies. I am not a physician. Okay, I want to make sure I'm very clear with that. I'm not a physician, but I do think that even if you are inside of your space, this is not a ticket to just say, okay, well, yeah, I don't have to do anything. I don't have any type of responsibility in that space. No, you have to be just as proactive inside of walking in this in a collaborative space, because there are other things that can be done, right? There are things that can mitigate, right? There are things that can help you transition through what your body is going through, right? So we have to have an understanding of what you're going through. You also have to understand what we're going through as you're going through it as well, right? So that, across the board, I just really want to encourage. Um, I Oh Lord, they trying to kick me out. See, I told you that this topic they wanted to kick me out on. Okay, so listen, I want to thank you guys so much, just for coming on today. Share this with your significant other. I don't know if they're gonna have me back, because they might have had me back. I hope I do. But I am your guest this evening. Elam B King. You can follow me on all platforms at Elam B King. You can also go to elambking.com. And you can find any information. I want to thank all those that have reached out and bought my most recent book. It's called Understanding a Man: Memoirs from a Father to His Son. You can go to my website and learn all about it. But I'm just standing in for, we got some issues. We got to get this thing a little bit better with the pre-marriage area. So the Force of Friendship sends their love. They couldn't be here today, but we are on 9:10 a.m. This is the Superstation WFDF. I hope you see me again, because I hope I ain't upset nobody. Uh, I love y'all, and I hope I see you again. Y'all have a good night.